All right, next episode, Athlete Builder. Jim Beebe and Lucas Lorian. We're here. I'm in the library. Lucas is up in Fort Wayne, but today we have another local homebred, homeborn and bred athlete and coach, Zane Fakes. And if you can tell from the different guests we have on the show that so far I've been blessed, and Lucas, we both have been blessed with our guests in that they're people that we simply have come across in the strength and conditioning world, whether it's in a different sport or bodybuilding or actually just training athletes. But so far, the people we've come across over the last 10 years have been blessing us with their time. And we're it's the same deal today in that Zane, like my gym is in Plainfield. Zane played football in Plainfield. His brother played in Plainfield. And he comes from an entirely athletic family. And so one of the local kids, Zane went from Plainfield to Ball State, came and worked at my gym early after we opened. We opened in 13 and 14. We had sports performance. Dustin Burford and Zane Fakes headed that up. And then from there, Zane went back to school, got some more letters after his name, and now he's with the Colts of all places. So hasn't ventured too far from home, but again, just been blessed in these last 10 years with crossing different paths with different people, and we're lucky to have Zane on today. Great person, great athlete. We have a lot to talk about and share. So, Zane, thanks so much for being on. Really, truly happy to have you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
A little bit about Zane and his brothers, Tyron. Both football players in college. Zane was at Ball State. Tyron played at UIndy and came from good stock. The parents were athletes too. His dad played at UIndy, and mom at Decatur Central. She's listed in their Hall of Fame. So the whole family is athletic, and obviously the opposite of my family. We're pretty average physically. We always have to work a little bit harder, but not that they didn't. The whole Fakes family's excellent athletes, and so lots to talk about today. Zane, what was it like with you and Tyron growing up? Like, I know Tyron's a little older, so was it all
3 years?
Was it competition all the time? Were you guys always fucking with each other all the time, or is it like always encouraging back and forth? What's that like in that family for you guys?
So growing up, it was very limited encouragement from my brother. You've met him, you know him, obviously. So as we got older, that changed a little bit, but I was always chasing after him and always wanted to be like he was. And he was you've seen us both in the gym. He was a better athlete than me just in general. So, and then him being 3 years older was even another step. So it's just one story. Like, we were playing baseball, both had games that day at the old place in Plainfield, Level Field, before they moved it.
Mm-hmm.
So he played, I played. I told him I hit a home run, but then right. So the home run I hit the fence on top and then went over. So I was like all proud of myself. I was like, hey, I hit a home run. He was like, yeah, but I heard it hit the fence first and then went over. So it doesn't really count. So it was more of that stuff that I had to use as motivation. So I was like, all right, well, next time I got to not hit the fence. Right. So I was always chasing him. And I think that's a big part of the reason why I was successful, because I was always trying to be somebody else other than, oh, that's Tyron's little brother, right? I wanted to be going to Plainfield was relatively small, so everyone knew both of us. Not that I was like in his shadow, but I felt that way to me. Sure. Because he had all these accolades. I was younger. Everyone was talking about him. Then I would run around like, oh, that's Tyron's little brother. I didn't want to be that. But he did definitely help me. That was part of my motivation of getting out under his shadow. But I mean, I can't think of enough. He didn't know how much he did for me, and I don't think it was on purpose, but that's just how he was, and it ended up working out for both of us. So,
you know, I'm the oldest, and it's just that whole order of siblings, and I don't know if Tyron was anything like me. I was not great, and a lot of backhanded compliments or just simply stomping on younger ones, right? Mm-hmm. So then in your identity, he's 3 years older, more mature, right? Because he's physically advanced because he's 3 years. And then he's competitive and he's athletic. So now the bar's already kind of high and you're always having to chase. So that creates in that identity, I would think, a tireless, relentless work ethic that, hey, if I can get to this guy's level, which is already pretty decent, then you're probably going to be okay too, right? And so if he runs for
so that's
100,
what I was always like, I'm not as good or as fast or as whatever as Tyron, so I'm not there yet.
You watch The Last Dance or you listen to Jordan speak, his older brother was better at a younger age, but Jordan got to be like 6'6", and the other brother quit growing. I don't care, maybe have been Larry was his name, but he always talks about how his brother was simply better and better physically, and he's like always having to go, always having to push. And then once that is ingrained at you at a young age, man, what a gift. Not then, right?
It was terrible, but
terrible, but
it ended up working out.
Right, because you have to push. You have to push. So then from Plainfield, you went to Ball State, and so just how did that all transpire? Because I have it down that you finished playing there in 13, so you're probably there 5 years, right? So 08 to 13. How did you? How was your journey getting to Ball State?
So high school graduation 09, and actually played the fall of 13. So I played 9 through 13. So gotcha. That's the 5 years there. I played running back in high school, so no one was recruiting 6'3", like 215 white running backs, so I had to switch to tight end at Ball State. So they set up an official visit. They're like, all right, will you come on this official visit? We're going to offer you on the visit. One day later, they called me and said, we're canceling the visit. You're not coming anymore. So in between that 24 hours, my only other offer was Indiana State and University of Indianapolis. So I called Indiana State and was like, hey, look, I'm not coming. Ball State, I'm going on a visit this Friday. Thank you, but I'm going to go to Ball State. Ball State calls the next day, cancels it. I call Indiana State back. Hey, they just canceled. Like, what can we do? And they're like, nothing. We already got to, we can't wait. This was like in February, so maybe a week or 2 weeks before signing day. Back before they had 2 signing days. So I'm like, I have no clue what I'm going to do. I didn't want to go to UND because then again, Tyron was still there. That was like my last option. Not for any other reason other than I didn't want to be Tyron's little brother again.
Right.
I think.
Sure.
And then that Friday, so that was like middle of the week, that Friday, one of the Eddie Faulkner, who was recruiting me, who's now the running back coach for the Steelers, drove to Plainfield. We had a 2-hour delay, so he ends up driving to Plainfield. We're like close. He drives to Monrovia, where my dad teaches. Actually finds him. He's like, hey, we messed up. We're going to reschedule this visit. I didn't know how that all happened. They said they watched the film again. What actually ended up happening, one of their tight ends, they just came back from the bowl game, didn't have any place to stay, broke into the dorms, and got kicked off the team.
Oh,
so,
man.
That's how I got my scholarship at Ball State. Ended up working out pretty good, but that's how that all went down.
God, the up and down roller coaster, the stress, the highs and the lows. You're all excited, and then you're like, holy shit, man, I'm kind of screwed now.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was going to do. So I'm like laying in bed, using the house phone, trying to figure out, like, I thought I had the next, 4 years planned out, and then they're like, never mind, which is how it happens. But so then, him showing back up at school on Friday was very, very welcoming on my end.
Man. So I would say it turned out, well. You had one down year because of an injury, but the last 2 seasons you were first team all conference, academic All-American. And then I think even some pro teams are even looking at you or inviting you as like a undrafted free agent to kind of come work out for them, things like that, right?
Right. So my freshman year, I'd never played tight end before. And we did not Oklahoma drill, but it was like one-on-ones type of situation with just one. So not 2-on-2, but one-on-one with a running back behind you, right?
Yeah.
So the first time I'm going in this drill in training camp, I'm going against a 32-year-old former Marine named Brandon Crawford, who I actually just talked to the other day.
Brandon Crawford works at Northside.
Yeah, so you know him. And that blow the whistle or whatever. I can't remember how the drill started, but I got hit into the running back before he could really even move. So that was like my first time playing tight end. So it was, it was a little bit. I would call my dad every day. I'd be like, I have to be the worst tight end in Division I football, and he's like, as only a dad could. He's like, well, but you are one of them. Right. I was like, I said, okay, that's a different look, different perspective. And it was very tough. I ended up having to start that year because the starter tore his ACL. And then the guy behind him was a converted defensive end. And then the guy behind him was a walk-on. And then me. So I was like fourth string week 1. Week 2, I was started. And for no reason other than they were like, well, this guy's on scholarship. He knows the play. There was another freshman tight end that was on scholarship. Only reason I played is because I knew the playbook and he didn't. I wasn't better than him by any means, but I knew the plays. I was like, all right, this guy knows the plays. Let's see what happens. That year was tough. Sophomore year, 4th game in at Iowa, I tore my ACL, which in the long run ended up helping me out because developing in the weight room really benefited me. And then 2011, I was okay, starting to figure out, still coming off the knee injury. And then the last 2 years, 2011, we got a new head coach, Pete Lembo. And then 12 and 13, we had a pretty good team, a lot of good pieces around us. And I kind of really thrived in the offense just from being able to know the game and know how to operate within the offense. It was a really good coaching staff. So they helped me out a lot. The strength coach that we hired, David Feely, was probably the most important in my development because he got me right after the knee injury, about 4 or 5 months in, right when I was about to start lifting again.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a huge piece too. Great guy. He's at Duke now. Just won Strength Coach of the Year. I forget what publication presented that, but very, very good, and probably the reason why I was more successful than I should have been the last 2 years.
I saw that.
Was Aaron Wellman there for a little bit when you were there?
Aaron Wellman was there when I was getting recruited my senior year. Okay. So Brady Hoke had left
West Virginia,
like right before signing day, kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
And went to San Diego State and then Michigan, I believe.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how that went. He went to San Diego State first and then Michigan.
Okay.
You know what's cool is that when I talk to athletes or even people about their businesses and everything I talk about, there are your strengths, weaknesses, etc., but there's your competitive advantage, which you're great at. And then you said your freshman year you were not great because you're getting blown up in some practices and you're 4th string. And however, your competitive advantage when it came down to it was that you knew the playbook and the other guy did not. So
that's right.
Your strength was his limiting factor, his weak link. And so even if you're not doing well on the field in some areas, you can still obviously go home and bust ass and learn the playbook better than everybody else and then separate yourself, hopefully, if you're given the opportunity, right?
Right. So the interesting part is that guy was actually the first person offered by Ball State in our class, and I was the last.
Wow.
The other tight end. So then again, I'm sitting there thinking like, there's no way, like freshman year, I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to have to play, especially after week 1 when it was not really even an option.
Sure.
And then all this stuff trickles down and I end up having to play. So it's just very, very interesting how stuff works out and you don't know why. But at the end of the day, like I knew the plays, that guy didn't. So they, that's how it happened.
So when you talk to another coach or your parents, because your parents are going to be supportive and all, hopefully, and they're like, "Hey man, just keep your head up, and if you can do these things, you got a shot." And you're like, "Man, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no way," because you're already doing all the math. You're looking at all the personnel, and you're already deciding how the future's exactly going to be. And you're like, "Oh, what are these older people? What do they know? They don't know shit, right?" And then you're like, "Well, fuck, man, here we are, right?" And then now you're in the role of being a coach, and you're like, "Hey, man, you need to stay positive. You need to keep working on these other things because you don't know what's going to happen." And you're like, "Bullshit, man. This guy was drafted number 1. They'll be putting money into him." Well, lo and behold, right? It happens all the time, and no one really believes anybody that has any kind of white hair on them, right? Or anyone who's 10 years older than them. And then you're like, "Hey, I just lived it." Yeah, but I'm different. My life's different. My situation is different. You don't get me. Right?
That's right. And really, the problem is, because I've experienced it plenty of times, no matter how many people tell you, I wish I knew this when I was your age, or this is how it goes, you don't ever really believe them until it happens. And then you're like, oh, shit, they were right.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And you guys see it all the time too. But until they go through it, they don't believe you. Then they'll just come back and be like, I should have listened. Unfortunately.
That's the irony of life. Life always gives you the test and then the lesson, right?
Yep.
It gives you the experience and then the courage.
You
want the courage first. It never happens until you go through the experience. And that's why it's always that wrong. So you have to actually have some kind of faith, or maybe just please, anyone listen to that, if you're an athlete, believe the people that have some experience, and when they tell you these things, think, okay, I'm going to trust this person and go with it.
It's hard to do.
Yes. There's one time at my gym, it's late, we're closing down, and we finished training, and all the CrossFitters and all the student athletes, and Dustin and Zane are there. We're kind of cleaning things up, and I got Jack, and Jack's younger. My son is younger, and so he was, so it'd be 14. He's born in 2, so he's 12 years old, 12, 13 years old at the time, and you get like, hey, well, you play college football, and Dustin, you play college football, and he sees like CrossFitters or other people like cleaning weight, and they're like, oh man, what do you clean, right? Is it like 135 or can you do like 185? And Zane's like, I don't know, probably like low threes, like 335. I'm probably good at. I kind of turn my head, and Jack's like, no way. He's like, oh yeah, no way. He's like testing him a little bit, and Zane's like, you want me to do it right now? And Zane's completely cold, right? It's late at night, been on his feet, working with these kids, pushing them. And Dustin's like, hey, at least do a couple warm-up sets. Like, come on, don't just, you're not 17 anymore, so just at least do a couple warm-up sets. So I remember this specifically. He hits 135 on his clean, and it's, real fast, and does like 4 or 5 just to appease Dustin more than anything, because he's like, I don't fucking need to do this. And then he goes right to 2 plates. So he's got 2 1/4 on there. Bam. He's just repping it out. And then goes right to 275, hits it. Nothing bad at all, right? No starfish with his feet, And then it's right to 3 wheels, 315, bam. Feet kind of come out a little bit. And nothing bad. And it's like on his 7th rep, right? All in total. Puts on 2 more 10s to get the 335 number that he predicted, and then hits it. And he's like, turns the jacket, see that, Jack? And Jack's like, yep, I see it. That really happened. We get in the car. That was so cool, Dad. Did you see what he did? And I was like, yeah, those aren't real weights, buddy. Those are fake weights. That's how that happened.
I forgot about that till just now.
Yeah, I'll mention that to him. He usually listens to all these, and right or wrong, for some reason, this is like the fourth or fifth Ball State person we've had on, and we got like a couple more coming. We just seem to do well with that group. But yeah, he'll like revisiting that story.
That was all. I mean, I don't think I could do that anymore. That was it. Yeah, like 10 years ago.
10 years, right? Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have that anymore.
Not probably.
How old are you?
How old are you? 33.
33? Okay. All right.
Married, right?
Married.
And a baby on the way?
Baby on the way. July 3rd due date. So
dang.
Just over halfway.
Wow. That's awesome.
Been paying the nursery. And just getting ready.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
No. She doesn't want to find out. That crushed me. I just want to know. But
right.
Her choice.
That'd be good. Let me ask you this: like, you've been together with her for a while, so there's always a, like, with my wife when we got married, she knows I'm a gym owner, blah blah blah. So this is the car she bought. When you're with an athlete, the car you're buying is, a lot of times lack of stability because players get cut, coaches get cut, or they get promoted, and then they get traded. So you have to be mobile, right? Mm-hmm. It's always got to be, hanging over your head a little bit that, hey, we didn't quite make the playoffs. What's going on? What's at risk? And then once you start getting settled more and more, then you're like, hey, man, honey, I'm now going to be the head strength coach over with the Steelers. And so we're going to Pittsburgh. And she's like, God damn it, we just got set here. So, man, how do you got,
yeah.
How tough is that on the players and the families, or are some of them just like, hey, this is the deal and we don't care?
At least with us, I've been very fortunate that all of my jobs have been in Indiana somehow. Getting into this, I don't know how, but it ended up working out that way. The players, I still don't understand how they do it. Like, free agency is about to start next week. You have players going to be going, and they don't get to choose unless you're one of the top people where you go. And that is, I guess it's what they signed up for. They're getting paid a lot more than I am. So that probably makes it a little more palatable.
Sure.
But from our standpoint, like, we've just been rolling with it one day at a time. Like I said, we've been fortunate enough to where I stayed in Indiana so far. And I've worked with 2 people that have never been fired from their job, which is very rare. The head strength coach with us now has been with the Colts since 2001.
Dang.
Never had another job in the NFL. Been with the Colts.
Wow.
The other guy just retired, was with the Bills for 20 years, left, went to Chicago for 8 years, retired the first time, came back to Indianapolis for 6, and then just retired again. So everywhere he's been, he's stayed longer than most coaches get. So I've been very fortunate to be around people that know how to keep their jobs and do a good job at where they are. So that's what I try to do. I never search for the next job. If you do a good job where you're at, everything else will take care of itself. So that's kind of like, I try not to worry about it. It does creep in there sometimes, but I don't think you can waste your time worrying about something that may or may not happen, because then you just wasted however much time you spent thinking about it, and it probably won't happen to begin with.
Right. I find even with myself, my wife will ask this, or coaches, or I'll ask a lot of athletes this when they're worrying about something, whether it's hitting a squat or moving up the depth chart. I always ask, does that help at all? And they're like, no. I said, okay, well, what can we work on right now? Like, we'll say this, and then we have to redirect their focus. Let me ask you this. We just had the combine, right? And, as a dumb fan, all you know is what the NFL Network and ESPN puts out. And who's the guy with the hair? What's his name? The combine guy.
Oh, Mel Kiper?
Mel Kiper, that's right. They're always going through all these metrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about how in college and then in the pros, people will put all their stock, or sometimes none of their stock, they'll put their stock in a lot of metrics? Because you just said, hey, I was a 6'3", 215 white guy playing running back. Well, maybe you were really fast and you could break tackles, right? But they see this metric and they say, hey, nope, tight end, right?
Correct.
How do athletes deal with that? Because sometimes you can believe it, people are wrong. And then there's the Peyton Manning over Ryan Leaf situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they pick these metrics and they're like, man, they completely fuck shit up. Or they don't bet on someone's heart or their IQ or their ability to work and suffer. And they pass on Tom Brady till round 6.
Right.
But yet every year they'll talk about, hey, metrics, this guy runs this guy does that. And then for first round draft pick quarterbacks, bust or make it is right around 50%, right? Mm-hmm. So every year here's the metrics, and then it's really flip a coin. I can flip a coin. I can flip a coin.
Yeah.
I should be a GM.
If you bat 50% as a GM, I guess that's probably pretty good. I don't know the statistics, but so the issue is there's so many good players, right? Whether that whatever reason that is, they're good at football or they have good measurables or both, right? So really the combine is like they get fascinated with certain things like speed or jumping ability, right? And I don't get to pick the players, obviously, but I think our GM does a great job. I want to say that first and foremost. We get really good guys. We get really good guys, character-wise, football, whatever. But I think some people get into like they set their draft order, and I don't know exactly how this works because I'm not involved with that side of it. But you see it every time. But I'm getting this from the same place you're getting it, the TV. Mm-hmm. Like they'll have this guy, whoever, Mel Kiper will have this guy in the late, day 3, right? And then he runs a faster 40 than they thought he could. Now he's bumped up to first or second round. Is he better at football just because he was faster than you thought?
Probably not.
No, I would say no.
Right.
So I think that's what happens sometimes. Like I said, I can't speak for 100% fact because I don't know exactly how it works. But people get infatuated with these numbers, and if they're not rooted, like their process isn't rooted in can they play football, that's where the
breakdown
50% happens. But there's also a lot going on. You put the weight of a city on a quarterback, how they respond to it. College is much different than the pros. Everyone's good. There's no down weeks in the NFL. You don't know how they're going to respond to having a lot of money and being in the public eye more than they were in college. There's a lot of unknowns, and you just hope that you can give this player, whoever you pick, the right tools to be successful, but some of them don't make it. They don't have what it takes mentally. They go through all of that stuff, interviews, character stuff. They talk to their college coaches, high school coach. They talk to whoever they can to try to find out about whoever they're picking. Mm-hmm. And then they're still wrong sometimes. So it's an inexact science, unfortunately, but sometimes you miss, or you say, he's really good, so whatever other area was lacking, whether that's character, grades, whatever. They were like, we'll be okay with this because he's really good. But sometimes that other stuff gets in the way of their performance. And that happens, I'm assuming, in all other business aspects too, with other companies, right?
Oh, sure.
Really good. So
I've been at different banks because my background's in finance, and there's guys that could close big deals, but weren't sober at lunch.
Right.
Close big deals. So you tolerate it for a little bit, try to help for a little bit, then at some point you gotta make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's when your lack of whatever outweighs your performance,
sure,
is when they say, see you later.
That's right. Now, you're a scholarship athlete, and you're used to playing running back, and you're like, all right, tight end. Did they tell you you're playing tight end from the get-go?
They did.
So then
I was okay with that.
Okay. What if you're not okay with that? Because there's gotta be kids like, hey man, I'm the man. I'm a running back. I can't believe they're disrespecting me like this. Right?
Yeah. And then
so what do you do?
Then they don't get their school paid for.
Right. Well, how do you turn that kid's mindset and say, hey dude, you're put here now, or you're third string, you're not second string, or you're second, you're not first. You're not running with the ones. How do you keep them still pushing? Because at some point they were the best fish in their pond, and now they're not, and they have to adjust and adapt. When you're coaching people like that, how what are some things that you do with those folks?
That is where what we talked about a little before we started, the nobody cares. Work harder. Right. So, okay. I always took it as, what do I need to do to get where I want to be? And that answer is different for everybody. Someone that's more gifted than I was probably won't have to do as much as me, but that's fine. So I never saw it as like the work harder part. Like, I never saw what I did really personally as working hard. I saw it as doing what was necessary to be what I wanted to be. And if you see it that way, the way nothing's hard. It is what it is.
Sure. How do you know as an 18 or 19-year-old what it is specifically? And if you ask your coach and they'll say, hey, just keep doing what you're doing, it doesn't really tell you anything. Or let's say someone's an undrafted free agent and they're trying to make the squad, right? Hey, Zane, what do I need to do here? Like, so if you don't know, what do you do? But I'll imagine at the pro level, you're going to say, do all these things, right?
That's right. So in college, I kind of knew, okay, I was getting pushed around freshman year. Okay, get stronger, right? Simple. I didn't know defenses that well. Okay, learn how defenses are playing, whatever. And that was the new coaching staff coming in. I was trying to figure out a new position at the same time. So I was really just worried about my job. If I did what that play called for, it was a win my first year. Then I got a full year off from my ACL, which really helped me.
Right.
Learn playbook, learn defenses, and get stronger, which is all three things that I needed to do. So hopefully you have a coach that is very good at identifying weaknesses in a person, and they want to help you out. Sometimes they don't care, which is unfortunate.
Sure.
At the pro level, the scouts...
I'm sorry, back up real quick. What if they don't care?
Yep.
Because you're still trying to advance. What do you do?
You have to find somebody who does. That's what I was very blessed with. Like, everyone that I came into contact with seemed like they cared about my development. Like, I could go ask my dad, he wouldn't know because he's not involved in the situation. I was very fortunate at Ball State to have people that cared about my development. And if you're not, I don't know if there's a good answer. Because if you're at a school now, I would say like go somewhere else.
Sure.
But I don't like that answer. I don't like that answer.
Right.
But if at the end of the day you don't find anyone at where you are that cares, you got to do what you think is necessary to be able to advance yourself. Because like if you know like others blowing you off, like keep doing what you're doing, and you're like, well, what I'm doing isn't working. I'm not playing. I'm not doing X, Y, Z, right? So what do I need to do? At that point, you have to understand they're trying to let you off easy. They don't think you can do it. A lot of coaches will try to save face, like so you still like them, but won't tell you the truth. Like, okay, you're not good enough. That is okay with me. Like, just be honest. If you don't think I'm good enough, just tell me. That's fine. I can handle that. Yeah. What do I need to get better? I don't know. Right?
Ugh.
Not good.
Not good.
So you have to find somebody that cares about you.
Sure.
And really, I'm not in the college landscape anymore. I don't know how it's going. I just see and talk to my friends, so I'm not living it. So it's a little more difficult to grasp what's going on. But the people I know in college football care about their players. So I've had a ton of experience with lack of caring about kids' development.
Sure.
In my experience. So usually that doesn't happen, but I'm sure there is instances out there where they can't find what they're looking for.
Gotcha. That's one area where Lucas and I come in, a third party, so you can run ideas by us and say, hey, we're basically paid for mentors or coaches on the side. But I also tell kids, hey, I can get you better in a lot of intangibles on your mindset and things like that, or strength and conditioning. But in terms of the X's and O's, I'm an idiot at that part. So you have to either beg a coach to help you, or you need to find some other kind of third-party mentor who's knowledgeable in your sport and can take you under their wing a little bit. So whether that's an alum at your school that you can reach out to and ask someone on the coaching staff, hey, who's another alum that's been done well here? So if I came to you and I don't know what your capacity is, but I say, hey, Zane, there's this kid that's friends with Jack. He's a freshman tight end, and he's just learning the ropes, but he's looking for a third-party mentor. Would you want to talk to him once a month? And I would have to, he would mention it to me, and I'd say, well, I know Zane, and then I'll connect you guys. And then I go, hey, kid, Zane's got to decide if he wants to work with you or not, or has the capacity, or if he even likes you. So, but I tell kids, ask or go out and seek mentors, because those are the ones with the knowledge, right? And they have all the keys to the kingdom, and that's what we're looking for, is that component. At the pro level, though, they're coming in, so they're 1% isn't even the number; it's a fraction of a percent that make it there, right? So because only 2% play D1, and it's a fraction of them that graduate and go on to play pros. So they're going to be big, strong, and fast, and intelligent. So, and they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, Zane, man, I'm the third string tight end here, and they're only keeping 2. How do you, man? You're just little inches in here now, barely, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like in the strength and conditioning world for you with those guys?"
So the numbers game is tough, because at the end of the day, they can only keep so many people.
Right.
Now, what I would say is, just because you're not here doesn't mean that one of the other 31 teams doesn't like what you do, which is very important. So preseason film is huge. All of the film gets sent to all of the teams. And that's what you see on cut down day is one team will cut somebody and then another team will claim them and get rid of somebody that on their roster already for the other guy. So
gotcha.
That is where it's a little more encouraging. But what you have to do is, so they obviously have their position coach. And if, say it's a rookie, we only have from early May till August with these kids, if they're going to make it, right? or if they don't. So very short time to where, like the first couple weeks, you're still trying to get to know them. So developing them is tough, and it's more time spent on football. So what we try to do is remove what we call the parking brake, right? They may have whatever coming in from college, whether that's injuries, lack of mobility, lack of strength, whatever, right? Most of them have fine strength, power, speed, right? That's why they got here. We try to allow them to access all of that by removing whatever is preventing them from doing it. And most of the time that they have something coming from college.
Sure.
Maybe not necessarily a major injury, but something to where if we get them better in this small area, it'll make everything else better. So that is really the point that we drive home. Hey, if you work on these 3 things or whatever, very small, it will help you on the field.
Sure.
Now, that's another conversation with their position coach, whether they like them or the scouts or whatever. So we're not really in control of the roster at all. We work with whoever's in there. But we obviously see things. We know, like, okay, maybe he's not as fast or not as strong as the rest of the people in his position group. And we try to work on those things in the 5 months that they're here. I guess it's more like 3.5. But it's a very short window for a rookie that if they're at the bottom of the roster for them to even develop into something, if they're not already where they should be. Does that make sense? It's kind of a long-winded answer, but
you don't have enough capacity and time to make a big dent. So you're mostly triaging some smaller things that can move the needle a little bit. Maybe they've never seen a chiropractor before. So if they have a series of adjustments, their body's in better alignment, they can release some power. Right. So you can do some things, but you're not going to take someone who's a 225 squatter to 405 squatter in 3-4 months. And they're probably not.
Because like I said, the first, whatever week and a half, like you're trying to figure out, okay, what exercise? No, I had a back in college. I can't back squat. Okay. So then you try something else.
Sure.
Oh no, I can't clean I broke my wrist in college. It doesn't, whatever. So that's like the first week and a half, 2 weeks. You're trying to figure out what they can do. And then as far as rookies go, and then you're working with them through there. Hopefully they get longer with us, but at the end of the day, if they don't perform on the field in the short time that they're here, there is not a lot of time for the strength coach to develop those qualities to make them an NFL player, if that makes sense.
Yep. So once the season ends, whether it's, December or January, they're either hitting it at their own school or they're going to a specialist down south somewhere or some other gym because they're preparing for either the combine or the pro day, then the draft, and then they report. So if they're like treat it like a big boot camp physically, then they got a shot because there's only a short window. Season still starts in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
So gotta go. For you as a player, what were I can't believe I'm in college football right now. I don't know if I have this. It might be that nutcracker drill. Or when was the I got this. I can perform at this level. What were those 2 moments and what transpired there?
The first one, the welcome to college, I told that story a little bit. I would get the shit kicked out of me every day in practice my freshman year. So that was like, I called my dad. I told you guys, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be good again. Like, this sucks. Every day was a nightmare. Like, I was nervous, anxious going to practice. Because obviously the expectation was very high at that level. And then thankfully I tore my ACL. Somehow I said that, but that was probably the best thing for my career. And then I got a full year of training with no football. I didn't have to worry about anything else, playing, whatever. Trained the full year. When I came back in the 2011 season. That is when I was like, okay, I can compete with these people. I was getting older. It was my third season at Ball State. That's when it felt like I belonged. And there wasn't a specific moment or anything. There was plays in there my freshman year, like running routes, catching the ball, doing things that way that I felt comfortable with because that's what I was used to, where I knew I could play.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as being what a tight end was supposed to be in college football and in the MAC, it wasn't until my third year where I really felt like, okay, I deserve to be a starter. I can be a starter. I'm good at this sport, like in my role. It wasn't until then. And then the following year, my fourth year, but at really my redshirt junior year, is when I really felt like I was excelling at the position. And I guess the people that voted on all conference thought so as well. So that was good for me. And I felt like everything kind of came together. I was at a body weight that was sustainable. I ended up like 235. Wasn't a big tight end by any means, but I had held that weight and played at that weight for a while where I was comfortable moving. So all of those things kind of coming together and just progressing, maturing, learning how to operate in college football, kind of was the culmination of, okay, I can do this. And then I was fortunate enough, I got invited to the Cleveland Browns rookie minicamp. Didn't get signed or anything. I was there for 2.5 days, but there was all other rookies, so all their draft picks. Johnny Manziel was in the same class as me, so I practiced with Johnny Manziel. Sorry, Jim. And do you remember Justin Gilbert?
Nope.
He was there as well. But I went. That was kind of a situation where I was asking in the short 3 days, like what I could do to get better, right? And I felt like, okay, I'm not going to make it, just from the responses of certain coaches. And that's fine. I was a practice body. They needed people to practice. It is what it is. But I made some plays in those 2.5, 3 practices that we had where I thought if I had the right opportunity, I could play. And then that never happened, but I was good with it. It was okay. So like, I knew I could play, but I didn't get the chance to, and I was all right with that because I knew I thought I was good enough to do so, just didn't get the chance. And I don't want to sound like one of those bitter people. I'm not. I probably wasn't good enough, but I felt like, okay, I see what these people are. If I got a chance, someone took a chance on me, I could probably do okay. So at the end of the day, I was all right with it.
And I talked to some kids, and they're like, they always start with they want to play in the pros. And I'm like, man, you got to worry about even playing in college, right? Let alone starting. And I said, let's say you work on your mindset and you get that rock solid, and then you know the playbook and for your position and the guys around you. So if they're all out of position, you can fix them too, right? Let's say you're an amazing teammate. You do all these things, and then you're a physical specimen, and you do the 2 non-sexy things: your food and your nutrition, and your recovery. You still, depending on where you're at, you still might need some luck, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, they got 2 first-round draft picks on the same team at Alabama, and then one didn't play until the national championship game, right? So you could be the man and still not play. Or if you don't have that injury and you keep playing as a undersized, not knowing your shit freshman and sophomore, maybe you get a real injury and you're not walking right for a while. So even if you're doing the things right, just it gives you a chance or a small window. And for you, the small window was the 2.5 days, right? Some people have a bigger window, like, Barry Sanders had a bigger window when he came out, right? So different.
Absolutely.
But for a lot of folks, then You're still going to need some luck. And even at the highest level, Bill Walsh says, hey, I don't really think I'm going to the Super Bowl every year. I want to be in the top like 10, 20% every year because we're going to need a little bit of luck to make a run in the playoffs and then win the game. Because so many times in those big games, it comes down to just a handful of plays. And you need a few games with a handful of plays 3 and 4 times in a row to get to the Super Bowl. And then a lot of times Super Bowl comes down to a handful of plays. So all along the while, you got to do the things that keep you in the game and give you a shot. But then again, you still don't know. That's why it's a sport. If it were just very mathematical, this is the way it is, that would just be science, right? It's not. It's a sport. There's variability. There's chance. There's mistakes. And
that's right.
One of the things that makes it really fun. When you see these, because you're old now, Zane. You're in your 30s. Still 15 years.
Unfortunately, I guess it's fortunate. I'm getting older.
Is it every year these guys come in and they're like, man, bigger, faster, stronger, bigger, faster, stronger? Like the evolution.
The most alarming thing is like when they tell us their birthdays and it's like 2000. So now
right?
just every year, obviously, it gets later and later. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Are they bigger, faster, stronger? It seems like there's more of them. So this year, the guy, if you saw the guy broke the 40 record at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fastest guys are still the fastest guys, right? Like their times aren't getting. He ran a 4.21. The other guy ran 4.22. Like it's pretty similar, right? They're not
negligible, right? Yeah,
right. So there's just more of them, right? Does that make sense? I don't think they're any bigger, faster, or stronger, but there's more people that are
at that
all
level
of those things at the same time.
Gotcha.
They're getting the whole group. Like the average, I would say, and I don't know this to be true, but it seems to me the average is getting bigger, faster, stronger. But the top is still the top because you don't see like, oh, the guy broke the vertical jump record every year. It doesn't get broken, right?
Right.
It's probably set. I don't know when it was set, but it was probably somewhere 10 to 15 years ago, and it's still there. So in a sense, yes, they are because there's more of them, but at the end of the day, the top guys are still around where the top guys were probably 10 years ago.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Luke.
I was going to ask, just kind of go back to the schedule, or you were talking a little bit earlier about training rookies and stuff, but can you talk a little bit about the difference between college strength and conditioning and strength and conditioning at the NFL level, because they have to be different. I'm sure they're not crazy different, but the priorities have to be different. I have a feeling.
So in college, they spend a lot of time trying to build the man through mindset. Like they make things hard just to be hard.
Yeah.
And in college, I didn't enjoy that, but then you don't realize you need it until you, like when I got older, I was like, oh, this is why it was supposed to be hard. So game day's easy, right? When they get to this level, they're kind of done with that. They're professionals who are more working together. Like, okay, this is how I feel I need to train as the player. They come to us, they say, okay, I like X, Y, and Z. We're like, okay, that one's good. I don't really believe in that one. What do you think about this? So it's more of a collaboration with the athlete at the pro level than at the college level. College level, you say, this is your lift today. Bam, 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 bam.
Right.
They say, yes, sir, hopefully, and just do it. They don't ask, they're just like, all right.
Yeah.
Try not to get in trouble here. Then pro level, they're like, they look at what you have planned for them. They're like, I don't think I'm doing that today. I'm like, why? So a lot of them have a big background in training already. They've trained for a long time. They know what works for them.
Yeah.
We know what works for most athletes, right? But everyone's different. So if they have a valid reason, like something that they present to us and we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's try this. So the biggest thing is it's more collaborative with the athlete. They have a much, much bigger say in what their training is than they do at the college level because of their experiences. You can't discount their experiences at the pro level because it matters. And if you do discount them, you'll probably not have a job for very long.
Gotcha. So it's way more individualistic and more centralized around the player then.
I would say in college, at least where I was when I worked at Ball State, we tried to make it individualized.
Yeah.
But it was more people that needed development. So I wouldn't say it wasn't individualized, but more people fit into a certain bucket in college than people do in the NFL, if that makes sense. Because of the longer history of playing, the longer you play, the older you get, the more injuries you have, whatever, right? So the longer you play football, the more you're going to get injured. It happens that way. So that is why it has to be more individualized at this level, because everyone has really something completely different going on than somebody else. And they get to say, they're like, I don't like that exercise. I want to do this one. I'm like, okay. Those two things may not be the same thing. So you try to guide them to what you believe in. But a lot of times, a lot of guys have really, really good ideas. And you're okay with them. So you try to steer them towards what you want them to do or what you think will benefit them. And most of them are pretty good. Once you give them an explanation, you have to know what you're talking about at this level because they will sense that quickly. If you don't, they'll be like, that guy's full of shit. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So as long as at the end of the day, they have respect for you, you may disagree with them. They may disagree with you. But if they know you are knowledgeable, they'll listen to you. And it usually works out pretty well. So,
and a lot of these guys, they don't always train with so the Colts don't always train with the Colts. I'm sure some of these players, they leave out of town, they go for long periods of time, though they have other coaches that they go and train. And so it's not necessarily mandatory for them to train at
the facilities. Right. So right now, after the season ends through OTAs start mid-April, somewhere in there every year. So for those 2 to 3 months, they could be away. There's some players that I won't see until report day from the end of the season.
Okay.
Some of them we know what they're doing, some of them we don't because we have relationships with their training facilities. And then again, the 5 weeks before training camp, after the off-season program is done, we won't see some guys from mid-June to end of July.
Okay.
So in college, those are the most important training blocks, right?
Right.
In the pros, you don't even see probably 75% of your roster in those months, which is very interesting. I had to adjust to that. But you have to trust them to be professionals and do what they're supposed to do. Because at the end of the day, if they don't, they're going to get themselves out of the building anyway. So that's another thing, Jim, like I try not to worry about it, but you do because you care about the player. You're like, I really hope that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
99% of them do, which is very good for us. But you're always holding your breath first day back, like, oh, please, please have done what you're supposed to do.
Please don't show up fat.
And usually, right. So more times than not, and like I'm talking an overwhelming majority, they love their job and do what they're supposed to do.
Okay. Well, I got another question, if you don't mind me asking, is working in the college strength and conditioning realm, I learned real quick that being a college strength and conditioning coach is way harder than being a college athlete, at least it was for me. Just from the sheer hours of work, with how many hats you have to wear, how busy you are, how much you have to do. Can you talk a little bit about your your schedule? Like, what's it like being, a day in the life of Zane Fakes? What do you do as a strength conditioning coach for the Colts? Are you working 12, 14, 15, 20 hours during camp, or, do you go and train a guy and,
Right. So I would say that, just to go back a little bit, I'll answer that in a second. The reason why I could be in college strength conditioning was because of how recently I just left Ball State and how much I still cared about Ball State when I went back. I don't think I don't know. I probably would have figured it out somewhere else. But again, it was like I told Jim, I had to do what was necessary to get where I wanted to be. And fortunately, it was at a school that I cared about, and the coaching staff was largely the same as when I played there. So all the hours didn't really matter to me because I enjoyed it. Did it get long sometimes? Yeah, sure it did. But the only reason it was doable was because of what they provided to me. And I felt in a way that I was giving my time back to them. So it was kind of not easy, but like I said, I didn't feel like I was working hard. I was just doing what was required to be able to go where I wanted to go. Now, in the NFL, training camp is long. It's not as early. So college is very, very early. In the NFL, they try to do more things that are research based. Like, you're still gonna have to wake up early. You may not get enough sleep, but we try to get our guys enough sleep, enough nutrition, all that stuff. So the days start a little later. We're not training guys at 6 a.m. because most of the time they're not getting enough sleep. So there's no point to us. We want to train them when they're optimal, right? So training camp's probably the longest time of the year. And then in season, I would say the most we would 12 to 50. You can get a 15-hour day in there, but the schedule's much more friendly to time in the pros because the people that are the players also have families. They like their time as well. They have to go home and take care of their kids and be with their wife. College, you know exactly what their schedule is. They lift, they run, they go to class, and sleep.
Right.
Know what they're doing. They don't. Now, could some kids in college have kids or wives? Yes. Majority of them don't, though. So in the pros, they like to respect the players' time as well. And a lot of them have families and are grown men, so you give them more freedom. And they don't like to keep them all there all day because at the end of the day, you don't have to worry about if they're going if we give them too much time, are they going to go get in trouble? No. For the overwhelming majority of players, they're going to be fine. They're going to do what they need to do to keep their job. So the days are much, much shorter. And even now, our weight room is open 8:30 to 1, Monday through Friday. And that's when we train guys. And then I get weekends off. In college, you have recruiting weekends every weekend. So you're still, even in the off season, working 6 to whatever your training block is. And then Friday night happens, and then recruits fly in, and you got to give a presentation on your strength and conditioning program, your nutrition philosophy. You got to go to dinner with these families, and then you do a Sunday morning breakfast, and then Monday morning rolls around. You got to train the athletes at 6 a.m. again. So now it's much more friendly for outside time, but the give and take is the amount of pressure of training these athletes. There is a price tag to these athletes. They're worth a lot of money. People have invested their draft picks, salary cap, whatever into them. And you have to make sure, or we try to make sure, that they are at their best to perform. And it's a little different in college. College, if a guy gets hurt when he's training with you, it's not really that big a deal because there's another guy.
Right.
In the pros, there's not another whatever. There's not another DeForest Buckner out there. There's not another whatever. We had T.Y. Hilton, Jonathan Taylor, Anthony. Like, there's not another one of those people.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure, like, you try to reduce the risk of injury when you're training them. So that the stress is just different. Time versus like the athlete being on the field is how I think of it.
Perfect. Okay.
When I was talking about Jack watching you clean that weight, there was this moment, it's like a little bit of awe, right? And you see, I'm not calling, compared to me, everyone's a freak, but there's some athletes going to be like, holy shit, man, do you see what he just did? His shoulder could touch the backboard,
Yep.
You see that? What's a moment that where you were like in Jack's shoes watching someone, and this little guy, man, he squatted 600. You won't believe this shit, right?
We have, I don't want to use the name just because I don't want to.
All right.
The guy probably wouldn't care, but I didn't ask him before. So a guy on the team so he had safety bar, Bulgarian split squat, right? Rear foot elevated split squat.
Yep.
405 for like, sets of 5.
One leg.
So he's working up, right? He gets to 315. I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, let's do 405. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess. And then he does it with like no problem. And I'm like, that was college. We had guys squat a lot of weight, 600, right? Like,
right.
I've seen stuff like that, but a single leg,
right?
A rear foot elevated split squat with 405 on the bar, easy was like eye opening. Then, like in season, he'll go, I'm going to go light today. It's like 335. I'm like,
now, this is not hand supported?
No. Both hands
are
right here
on the safety bar.
All right, that's a lot different.
Yes, not hand supported at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the major one that I was like, these guys are crazy.
You remember Chad Dockery?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so coached at our gym, coached at Plainfield. Now he is the athletic director at Wright's Memorial down in Evansville.
Okay.
When he was down in South Carolina, he was the head coach at a local high school. And there were a couple pros that had just retired that were on his staff. And it was just pure luck. LeVon Kirkland from the Steelers, one of the strongest linebackers out there, biggest, heaviest play linebacker. He wanted to be at Clemson, but he felt like he was being disrespected. So he's like, I'm not going to coach at Clemson for whatever money, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to coach with my guy Dockery for nothing, right? So Chad and LeVon I'm probably not getting the story 100% right, but close enough. They're done coaching for one day, and they, LeVon wanted to lift, and Chad likes to lift. Everybody likes to lift, right? And so everybody likes to do upper biceps, and LeVon likes incline bench. And he goes, how about we just do sets of 10 to 15? Chad's like, cool. Put a plate on, 135, no big deal. Put another plate on. You go back and forth with it. Now, second set is right at 225 for 10 to 15, right? Third set, LeVon puts another plate on, 315. Does it for 15 reps. Chad's like, I'm going to stick here at 225. Fourth set, 405s on the bar, incline bench, set of 15, and like, all right, well, let's do something else,
Oh my gosh.
Right. I can't imagine someone that size coming at you with all that speed and having that pressing force get a hold of you. And that's why NFL means not for long, because of all the the injuries.
I watch on Sundays often, and I say to myself, I'm a little glad I didn't make it. Because which is not true. I really wish I would have, but The normal tackle that people see on TV or from the stands is so brutal up close. It's really amazing that they don't get hurt more.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's where we come in and try to build them up as much as possible.
I was at the Packers Colts game, and it was during a COVID year, so there's no one in the stands. There's nobody, right? My brother is a big Packers fan for some reason. We dropped him on his head. And so he turns 40, so I buy him these tickets. And there's no one there, so we're sitting down kind of close, right? And he, was a left tackle in high school and was going to play in college, but had some offers, but didn't. And we're watching now. We're really close. We're not quite on the sidelines like you guys, but we're closer than what I can normally afford. And the collision speed and how quick it is, and how, hey, that guy just missed getting smashed because he sidestepped it a little bit, but the next time he didn't miss it,
Yeah.
The sheer force and violence is amazing, right?
Truly amazing.
Truly.
That's why, like I said, watching it just a normal play, you're like, oh God, it's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But we all love it. So
that's the deal. You always seem to be from chasing Tyron to getting a spot to play, and then earn a spot to start, and then move on into your professional career. There's always an evolution in the chasing. And if I pull up your bio, you can see all your stuff, and here's all the letters after his name and his background, etc. But there has to be that built-in core value or identity where you have this relentless approach to evolve. So how does Zane, you come on, and at first you're like the undrafted free agent on the strength staff, like you're the lowest rung. How do you keep pushing forward? What are things that you do so you're always evolving, so that someday maybe you are running the strength program where you're at least good enough, right?
Right.
And it's not just the knowledge of how to get the body to work, it's how do you manage people and the dynamics. And at the highest level, sometimes you're not even coaching a lot of folks, right? It's all the other hats you got to wear. So what are things that you got to do to keep pushing Zane for? Because you're just a young kid, man.
So getting to the Colts was interesting in that somebody that was working with the Colts at the time where I was a GA at Ball State. This guy was a previous Ball State grad. We had both worked for Jason Roberson, who is the Olympic strength coach at Ball State. So this guy was Roberson's first grad assistant when Roberson got to Ball State. I did my internship with Roberson because I couldn't leave campus because I still had spring ball. So that is how we knew each other. This guy that works with Indianapolis calls Roberson, do you have anybody that would, want to be an intern with the Colts? Roberson calls me. So I get to the Colts. I think what I try to do was, and then I get to the Colts, right? Just do whatever they ask you to do. Do a good job of whatever they're telling you to do. Okay. So you don't, and this is just me, and I don't know if this can apply to other people, but more times than not, you don't have to go above and beyond. Some people think it is above and beyond, but if you do exactly what is asked of you, more times than not, that is enough, right? Especially in your job, whatever's your job. They tell you to do X, Y, and Z. You do it to the best of your ability. Get it done when they ask you to get it done, and show willingness to do whatever it takes, whatever they ask you to do. For the first week when I was with the Colts, I was putting connecting bars on the racks, like for TRX spots, right? I was basically putting together the racks for like the first week. And I didn't complain about anything. They said, hey, do this. I went to work. So that really just showing willingness to do whatever is asked of you is number one. Number two, I have work with very, very good people that are willing to help me sit down and pick their brain. Okay, how do you do X, Y, and Z? How do you program? What do you think about this? How do you interact with players? Just learning and watching, observing how they do their jobs. Like I said earlier, these people haven't been let go from their duties at any job they've had. So in my mind, they obviously know how to keep their job and elevate. How do I adopt those things? And fortunately, I was young, so I could relate to the players. And then just being yourself and trying to stay true to who you are, what you believe in. Like at the end of the day, if they know you're being genuine, whether they disagree with you or not, they're going to respect what you're saying or what you're doing. And that holds a lot more weight than if you try to be phony. They're going to see right through it, right? So I try to grab as much information from the people I work closely with. I don't go outside of, because I think I had the best people to work with. They've been in the league for over 20 years, all of them. So I was like, okay, these probably are the best people to learn from.
Right.
So
not a big
learning
stretch.
as much as I can from them and just trying to apply that to my daily habits has helped me.
That's awesome. Anyone trying to make it in the college or in the pros, I hate when people say, what's the one thing? Because there isn't. What's the one or two things mentally? What's the one or two things physically you'd say, hey, man, check these boxes and you got a shot?
As far as athletes or coaches or what?
I'll say for
both?
Athletes or either. Yeah.
Athletes.
Yep.
It's a bad answer, Jim, because I don't even like it, but it's like, can you play?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be good.
Sure.
Obviously.
Yep.
Outside of that, there's plenty of good people that don't make it, right? Why don't they make it? They're not willing to do whatever that is, right? So if it's, I don't have good enough grades, so I didn't go to whatever college. Those people aren't willing to do, they're good enough on the field, but not in the classroom. So they're not willing. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, if you're good enough on the field, the grades will somehow be good enough to get in. But outside of that 1% of those people, everyone else needs grades, right?
Sure.
So high school kids looking to get whatever, you also have to know, you have to be real with yourself. If your expectations are to play Division I football, okay, you have to have people around you that either they say that's attainable or you need to readjust your goal. You're not good enough to play Division I football. I think that's equally as important. You got to know who you are and who you aren't.
Okay.
So if you have an unrealistic goal, like I can't say I have a goal of being the president of the United States. It's unrealistic. I'm not ever going to get there. Realistic goals matter.
Right.
Then just fortunately, I was blessed with two parents that were like, you can do whatever you want, but here are the things you need to do. You have to be disciplined. You have to do this. You have to want it. And they helped me get there. It's like, my parents didn't push me to do anything. I always went to them because I was, like I said, chasing my brother. If you feel strongly about something, you need to be willing, and I keep going back to this, to do whatever that is to get to where you want to be. And like I said, that's different for Lucas. That's different for Jim. That's different for Zane. I don't know. I don't have the answer of what that is for everybody.
Sure.
But once someone gives you that answer, you have to be willing to do that, or don't ask the question.
Sometimes
that's where I'm coming from.
Sometimes when they get the answer, they're probably like, "That's more than what I'm willing to do."
Exactly.
Which is fine.
That's fine. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. The military's not for everybody. Being a priest isn't for everybody. Being married isn't for everybody. But if you want to have this, or have this job, or have this lifestyle, or whatever, there are certain things that are required that you can't really not check the box.
That's right. I told my dad, I want to do this. He's like, "Are you sure?" Yes. Okay. This is what you need to do. You're not starting this unless you finish it. So don't tell me you want to do something and then your actions are different than what you just told me.
Right.
And luckily, he didn't let me fail. My mom didn't let me fail. My brother was a huge help too. I have a bunch of people in my life that didn't let me fail. In a certain extent, you got to kind of let them figure it out, but like they were there to help push me, if that makes sense.
Sure. That's good. One question that's occurred. There's always turnover in the league at all different levels.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see you keep staying at the Colts, but let's say things don't work out. But let's say the Indiana Fever needs a head strength coach.
Yeah.
Right? That's basketball. It's been a while since you played basketball. Right?
It has.
So is there any interest at all in then taking your craft to a different sport?
If it was necessary.
Sure.
Now, I would also love to stay with the Colts.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I enjoy football. That's what I'm passionate about. But if it was necessary, yeah.
Sure. I don't want you living on the street. You're going to need a job. I get that. I just want to
exactly.
Is he willing to go, to the U.S. Olympic team? Is he, what else is, on the docket here? I was just curious. That's not really.
I'm willing to do. I would obviously like to stay in the strength conditioning realm.
Right.
And then anything outside of that, I feel like I know enough smart people to be able to rely on them and how to succeed maybe in a different sport than football. Because I don't know if you think you know everything, you probably are way off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever thought about high school strength conditioning?
I have.
That was
actually that arguably is probably more difficult than my job. You have to manage a lot of people and teach them from nothing.
Oh yeah. I know what that's like.
So I don't know if it's hard, but it's definitely equally as difficult to take somebody that doesn't know anything or take somebody that knows a lot, because then the margin of error at our level is very small, but then you are starting from scratch and have to teach them everything. So still difficult, but just different aspects of difficulty and what you guys are trying to accomplish. I have thought about it. Initially, I wanted to be a gym owner and have my own sports performance place. And then I missed the aspect of accountability to your teammates. I know you guys have built that gym where you're at since I've left. There wasn't enough group dynamics for like training one-on-one. I enjoyed it, but the aspect of being accountable to somebody else I missed, and the team atmosphere I really missed, which is why I went back to Ball State.
Gotcha.
But high school I have thought about, but I'd like to stay at this level as long as I can and go up as high as I can here. And then I have thought about high school strength and conditioning a lot. I know it's rewarding because you see a lot of progress, and it's fun. The kids enjoy it. So that is something maybe later down the road that I've thought about. I've toyed around with, but we'll see. I'm trying to take this thing as far as I can.
Yeah. I'll say Indiana is one of the leading states in the country for high school strength and conditioning. Surprisingly, it's really picking up around, and you're seeing a lot of schools really invest into weight rooms and into all these performance aspects of their school, and it's pretty cool to see. Really, I didn't think I would like high school as much as I do, but it's I'm not saying I got the best high school strength and conditioning job on the planet, but it's been very interesting and fun. So
No, Craig Ray has
Avon
is having a good time doing what he's doing too. So I went to school with Craig, and then the guy that's with him, Chris Stevenson, was one of our track coaches when I was in high school. So I follow them. It's the amount of money that Avon has invested in their weight room is
insane.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's better than some college weight rooms and some pro weight rooms. So to speak on your point of how much money they're investing in strength conditioning in high school, I think it's a great growth in that area. And I think it's important just to get kids, even if they're not athletes, active for later in life.
100%. Yep. I'm going to wrap up here soon. Just real quick, I have a number of rapid fire questions, and this one isn't normally on it, but favorite away stadium and crowd?
Oh, let me think. New Orleans was pretty cool. We didn't play very well, but their level, they never changed how they were acting the whole game, even when the score wasn't close. And it's New Orleans. It was a really cool atmosphere there.
That'd be fun. What do you listen to when you train?
Sometimes, more often than not, nothing.
Yeah, just be in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Where's a place you wanna take your wife? Just you two, no one else, no kid. You haven't been yet.
Greece.
Okay. Favorite sports movie?
The Sandlot.
Wendy Peppercorn.
2 weeks in a row.
Right.
I watched that movie in middle school probably once every day in the summer. I forget what grade I was going into or coming out of, but I think I watched it every day.
I assume the favorite sport to watch is football. Favorite athlete to watch?
LeBron James.
LJ. Favorite book?
My favorite book. I don't know if I have a favorite book, Jim. Other than, this is like the Donald Trump answer, but the Bible's a pretty good one.
Yeah. It's a little bloody, right? A lot of bloody stories. But a lot of greatness.
Yeah, that one has helped me out a lot. But there is now I'm thinking about it, the book called The System by this Johnny Parker, Al Miller, Ron
Training
it's kind of philosophy that I grew up under at Ball State. Dave Feely and Ben Harmer. That's kind of how they think about programming and periodization is kind of outlined in that book.
Did you have fun getting through chapter 4?
So I have the book. I'm not going to say I read it all the way through. I skimmed through the chapters because I lived the programming of it, right?
Yeah, right.
So the way we put it into action is a slightly different, like any textbook, right? Yeah. Putting it into action is a little different than what you can get portrayed on pages.
Right.
So if you can remind what is chapter 4?
I actually have the book right over there, but it's just 200 pages long.
Okay.
undulating. It's all about undulating periodization and stuff like that.
So
it's
that
incredibly long.
Programming for using that style is very, very tedious. But at the end of the day, we knew we had a plan and we knew exactly how many reps of everything we were doing in a month. So it was pretty fun.
Okay. That's
favorite supervillain or superhero?
Superhero?
Yeah.
Thor.
And villain?
The Joker.
A lot of people say the Joker. I like him quite a bit, especially the Heath Ledger version. Favorite lift in the gym to do?
Well, I think we already kind of talked about it, but power clean, I still do them, just not as heavy.
Sure. If you had 10 million, would you stay in this role? Like, what would you do?
I would.
Wow.
I would.
Do you have
I can't just, dude, I can't do nothing, right?
Sure.
I think I'd be bored.
Yes.
I really would. I really enjoy working with the athletes and then just seeing them for who they are outside of like how fans see them, that they're real people and they're just happen to be getting paid a lot and be really good at football. It's pretty cool to see. It's just, they're just normal people. And it's very, very cool to get to know them on a personal level.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I do. Nobody cares. Work harder.
Nice. Love it. Man, Zane, thank you for taking the time today. Enjoyed it, learned a bunch of things. Great to catch up with you again, see your continued success. Thanks for your thoughts and when you helped mentor Jack a little bit and giving us a help there. Thanks for your time when you helped coach at my own gym. So it's glad our paths continue to cross back and forth, and we really enjoyed having you on today. Thank you for the gift of your time and your knowledge. Really, it's been great.
Thank you both. I really enjoyed it. And Jim, thank you for giving me a chance to work at your gym. It definitely helped shape my path and where I'm at now. So I really appreciate it.
That's great. Good to have you.